Coming up on the new music, Rough Trade, Tom Petty, Cheap Trick, and the Diodes.
When it comes to high-profile rockers in Toronto, Kevin Staples and Carole Pope are two of the most colorful on the scene. Their group, Rough Trade, has gained tremendous exposure, but they've yet to sign a recording contract. The media has paid a lot of attention to Rough Trade in the past, probably because of the group's blatantly sexual material and lusty style. Carole's tongue-in-cheek attitude towards sex, some people find her threatening.
I guess I threaten their plastic virility
That's right.
and their vinyl melts.
Do you think you've had a harder time making it in rock and roll because you're a woman, or an easier time? Maybe being accepted by fans.
I think you make it just because you're good. I don't think it has much to do with sex.
So you don't think that's been a hindrance at all? I mean, like, say if I were a guy, I could have
Wasn't
gone
a
out and
hindrance
done
to
this.
Dolly Parton.
Nah, well, no. Well, take Patti Smith,
Take
for
Patti
instance.
Smith
She doesn't
instead.
have any problems. Oh, honey.
Kevin and Carole consider themselves songwriters first and foremost, and they write some pretty memorable tunes. Their Birds of a Feather caught Tim Curry's fancy, and he ended up recording it himself. Now Kevin and Carole are getting into the film business. They've been asked to write music for a new Robert Stigwood film, and they've already completed 4 numbers for Cruisin', William Close Encounters Friedkin's latest work. I asked them what Cruisin' was all about.
It's a murder mystery that takes place in S&M bars, an S&M bar, sort of based loosely on a murder that occurred in New York in one of the S&M bars. And Al Pacino's a policeman who's sent in sort of undercover to investigate, to find out who this murderer is. And it's about all I could say about it.
And what are you doing with it?
We were asked to write some music by the person who's doing the score, which is Jack Niche. And he said, hey, need a few songs.
So we wrote 20 of them, and they may be using too.
Was there any talk at all about maybe John Lennon or Bruce Springsteen
Well,
singing
in the
some
beginning,
guitar?
he just said, you kids are doing all of it, but it didn't end up that way because everybody else wanted to get in on the act. I mean, the Stones came when we were there, and they wanted to do stuff, and John Fox, who used to sing with Ultravox, flew in for a day and wanted to do stuff, and Mink DeVille was doing something, I don't know who else.
How did you feel about being involved with all those types? Not that maybe you really worked with them, but just being in the same kind of situation as them all of a sudden.
I felt like we belonged there, and we always have. Thank you.
Okay, that's Cruising, and we're working on a couple of other films. And
Times Square with Robert
Times Square,
Stigwood.
we hope we can do some material for that with Tim Curry.
Mm.
And eventually go back to New York sometime in February when Cruising comes out. I said, when Cruising comes out, February 15th at some of your theaters.
In terms of what that movie is saying, Cruisin', I mean, I don't know, I haven't seen it, but I imagine it has some heavy statements to make, doesn't it not?
No, it's a murder mystery, and it's a good murder mystery. I mean, I would argue about it, you know, because the whole controversy about the homosexuality people being portrayed badly, and people are. I mean, wait till the film gets out, maybe they'll, you know, hate it. I don't care.
Everybody will be interested to see Al Pacino's. Sorry.
His makeup.
Yes.
His makeup is really good in the film. I took a few lessons.
What kind of background do you come from?
I was born in England, outside of Manchester, in the country. My parents were both in show business. Well, my father was in the circus. He was a stilt walker at one time, and then he went on to become a fireman and many, many other things. And my mother was in shows during the Second World War with Tessie O'Shea and George Formby and people like that, you know, those shows. And she was in pantomime, too. Then we had to leave the country when I was very young, and we lived in Montreal, and then we moved to Toronto. And I have actually 2 sisters and a brother. One sister's married. We don't talk about her. And my other sister, Elaine, who is a comedy writer, who is living in L.A., who has worked with Lily Tomlin and many, many other stars. And I have a brother, Howard, who is in a band called the Biffs, and he used to be in a band called the Drastic Measures.
The end.
The end, thank you.
What were you like in high school?
I was pretty weird. I don't know, when I was in high school it was fabulous because we got to backcomb our hair and wear dickies and suspenders and bell-bottoms with inserts, and all we did was go to dances. It was, you know, and wear mohair sweaters, and it was very trendy to dance with blacks and have them for boyfriends and everything, and we used to drive around in Pontiac Parisians. But I know I was weird because I had a very strange sexual sense of humor, and I looked pretty bizarre. And I don't know, but Craig Russell went to my school, so what can I say? Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Did you know him back
No,
then?
but he was president of the, I remember him vaguely because he was president of the Mae West fan club, which was pretty weird in 1962. And also Nick St. Nicholas from Steppenwolf, but that wasn't his real name.
This is a local high school here in Toronto. Yeah. Which one?
Cedar Brae. And because you know, the suburbs are so horrific, it sort of created that this strange cult who all moved down to the village. We all ran away to Yorkville. And it was before hippies. It was like everybody was being mods and things like that. Because I used to dress very mod. And take lots of drugs and go and see more bands and meet musicians. It was great. I mean, I really had no responsibilities. Quit my job.
The good old
starved to death. Talked about life for days. The meaning of life. And met really a lot of interesting people.
Were you writing back then?
No, I wasn't. I was having fun. I was listening to Strawberry Fields Forever for 8 to 12 hours. And just being totally ridiculous. But I was painting then.
What about you, Kevin? What kind of background did you come from?
I was working for bands as a road manager. I worked for a group called the Passing Fancy, and I worked for the Ugly Ducklings as well, schlepping equipment. And I suddenly realized that why should I schlep equipment? If I could learn how to play guitar, I could get girls. I mean, I could make, you know, songs and stuff. So I tried to learn how to play guitar, and that's about, like, maybe 6 months of having the guitar is when I met Carole, and we formed our relationship.
That's amazing.
And that's basically the story. It's a pretty short story, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe I should throw in a few extra things.
Let's throw in some more stuff.
I got thrown out of high school for having long hair and dressing funny, which caused my parents much grief because they had a lot of arguments with the principal. Mr. Snell, are you there?
Blow it out your ear.
This week's Chum FM Top 10 album list has in the number 10 position the Boomtown Rats, Fine Art of Surfacing. At number 9, Max Webster, Live Magnetic Air. At number 8, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Damn the Torpedoes. At number 7, Fleetwood Mac, Tusk. At number 6, Cheap Trick, Dream Police. At number 5, Blondie, Eat to the Beat. At number 4, The Police, Regatta de Blanc. At number 3, Styx, Cornerstone. At number 2, Led Zeppelin, In Through the Outdoor. And at number 1, the Eagles, The Long Run. Still to come tonight on the new music, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Cheap Trick and the Diodes. Will get taken away by the police. Message in a Bottle at number 1 on Chum's Top 10.
Just a cast away.
I'm lost at sea.
Oh,
another lonely day.
no one here but me. Oh,
My loneliness.
make it bear.
Rescue me before I fall into despair. Oh,
I'll send an SOS to the world.
I'll send an SOS to the world.
I hope that someone gets my. I hope that someone gets my.
Hope that someone gets my
Message in the bottle.
Yeah.
Message in the bottle.